I want to take your mind back 2 years ago when I first suggested doing a podcast. And Daeng, what did you say?
Is it 2 years?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Okay.
2 years ago.
And Daeng, what did you say?
I can't remember. So many things I said to you.
You said no one listens to podcasts. Sorry, you were the business guy.
Yeah, that's why the business failed.
That's why the business failed. You don't.
I done the
post-mortem.
Yeah, the post-mortem. That's why the business failed.
Don't smell it. Just eat it. Don't smell it.
In today's episode, I'm really excited to be giving you a conversation between the original founding team at Kestrl. Myself, Daeng Termizi, our COO, and Irfan Radzi, our CTO. We share the highs and lows, the good, the bad, and the ugly of what it was really like to start up a startup in the peak of COVID in an area which everyone thought was too niche to actually work. And to be honest, we saw so many other people in this industry die around us. This is an incredible episode for anyone who is interested in coming up with an idea on their own, or maybe they just know they want to be an entrepreneur, they're not really sure why, and they're figuring out how it is they want to go around that, maybe around their day jobs, maybe it's around their family connections, or whatever other responsibilities they have. As always, I'm your host, Areeb Siddiqui, and welcome to Muslim Money Talk. All right, assalamu alaikum, guys.
Wa alaikum salam.
Bismillah. So I want to take your mind back 2 years ago when I first suggested doing a podcast. And Daeng, what did you
Is
say?
it 2 years?
Yeah, it was 2 years ago.
Okay.
2 years ago.
And Daeng, what did you say?
I can't remember. So many things I said to you.
You said no one listens to podcasts.
Well, it's still an experiment, right?
It's still an experiment. Who knows?
You were listening to
But
podcasts
I listen
during
to
travels
podcasts.
and stuff.
Well, there you go. There you go. Thanks for coming on the show, guys. Thanks for coming on the show. So this is a bit of a different one, where, of course, the co-founding team, minus one person back in London, my dad, but we are the co-founding team originally of Kestrl. So I thought it would be a really interesting sort of conversation between the three of us to talk about our motivations, about what it's really like and what it's been like setting up Kestrl over the time. And I guess just like having an interesting conversation, which might be cool for some of the listeners to look into. So I guess I just wanted to start off with, I don't know about you guys, but in the UK, a lot of people come to me and they say, I want to be a startup founder. Right? I want to be a founder, right? Regardless of the idea, regardless of what it was, but they just kind of romanticize the lifestyle.
Yep.
Whereas it's kind of
Yeah.
a scary, terrible thing that we
f-
embarked on, right? I don't know how you feel.
Yeah, every time someone came up to me and say I want to be a startup founder, I said to them, don't do it. And if they still came out to me and say they want to be a startup founder, then probably they can do it. Because I think the reality is it's not as easy, man.
But why is reality so different?
I mean, you only see the best light of it, right? I mean, the positive side of it.
The LinkedIn post,
Yeah, the LinkedIn
me holding a
post,
giant
yeah.
check, and
And yeah, all those things. But
That's
I
the
mean,
perception,
yeah, I mean, statistically speaking, right? Like
Yeah.
90% of startup fail. So
Yeah.
are you ready for that? Are you ready for that emotional journey? Are you ready for the financial journey, right?
you worry for the sacrifice in your personal relationships as well, right?
It's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
Mentally, I mean, also physically, I gained like 10 kilos doing this.
Yeah.
Not now.
He's looking good now because he had dengue fever, which is like the Ozempic of Malaysia.
So yeah, it's not as easy, and sometimes people should go for it, but they should know what they are going for. Just the reality of it.
For sure. So let's rewind the clock again, all the way back to those early days when we came up with the idea for this. I don't know if you remember, we've told this story a few different times, but
Which version of the story?
when you and I met, so you and I studied together at Cambridge. That's how we first met.
Yeah.
And I think we were always talking about different ideas because we were sort of two of the main people using the prayer room regularly in Cambridge Judge Business School. And we'd go out and find halal places. And we saw this interesting opportunity in the UK where really strong demand for Islamic banks, but poor uptake for
So what was the question again?
I guess I wasn't asking. I was just kind of prompting.
Okay.
But do you remember when was there like a lightning strike moment where you thought,
Yeah, so a bit of background. I've studied my degree in the UK. Then
at Exeter?
Yeah, at Exeter, and then came back to Malaysia. Served in Bank Negara, Central Bank of Malaysia. Then came back in 2018, I think, for the MBA.
2018 we started,
for the MBA. At that time, I think that's when the boom of the neobanks happening
Yeah,
in
so
the UK.
Monzo, Starling,
Monzo,
Revolut had all just
yes.
sort of started
Yeah.
and were taking off.
So yeah, I had a Lloyd's account. I mean, back when I was doing my degree, I still maintained that account.
The Lloyd's Islamic
Yeah,
account.
Lloyd Islamic account.
Yeah.
But then I also opened my Monzo account, and it's just something that I never experienced personally as a user of as a consumer. And I think from your point of view is there's a demand for Islamic finance, right?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I'd seen it in my
yeah.
community for a really
Yeah.
long time that people, Muslims in the UK, I think perhaps more so than other Western countries, seem more religiously minded and religiously attuned in all things. Like they're praying 5 times a day, observing Ramadan, giving zakat. When it came to Islamic finance, the demand was there, but the solutions on offer were pretty
Yeah.
poor customer service, user experience. And then my background was in fintech. So I was a management consultant, helping banks and wealth managers transform. And Daeng worked for the Central Bank of Malaysia in Islamic Bank. I feel like Irfan's hearing this for the first time for some reason. but so we thought,
Good acting.
It's always something new for me. Like, every time I hear it, it's always refreshing.
but that was kind of where it was like, okay, maybe we can do something. And I don't know if you remember, but you and I were sat in the library,
Yeah.
and a few articles had come out. One was about Wahid Invest, and it was a Financial Times article with Junaid, the CEO.
Are we
and
sitting or are
founder.
we sleeping in the library?
Huh?
Are we sitting or are we
We were
laying
sat.
down?
We were no, we were sitting in the library this time, and they he was on the cover, and it was showing how Wahid was launching, and they told a story about how he came up with the idea, and I think that got it in our heads, like, hey, maybe there's something in the Islamic fintech space. And then do you remember Money Mint?
Yeah. Do you want to talk about them?
Well, they were doing a digital bank. We thought maybe we could do this in the Islamic space.
Yeah, what a naive.
Like, what's stopping us? Right. Which was, I guess, partly naivety, partly supreme arrogance,
Yeah.
right? In thinking this. And
What happened to Money Mint right now?
I'm not sure.
I'm not sure.
We'll have to check in. If you're listening to us, drop us a message. So, yeah, I think a lot of the digital banks went down a certain path, but we can talk about that.
Yeah.
But Irfan, your story is pretty interesting because, like, just putting a pause on me and Daeng coming up with this idea, because you by no means had a formal sort of background into this. Like, Daeng and I both worked in industry, me in consulting, him in banking, but your career is kind of all over.
Yeah. I mean, like when Daeng first met me, I was at Hermo that time. I mean, when he proposed the idea of building for Islamic finance, then I thought this, it is something that I already have deep in me. I mean, on the surface, maybe people see like I'm very naughty, not Islamic and stuff, right? But deep inside, I want the world to be a better place, right? For the thing that I have is actually with interest. I want no
You want
riba.
to, eliminate riba.
Eliminate riba from the
Yeah.
world. Really clean.
So, but before that,
But
you
before
remember?
that,
You
yeah.
remember? We started it off with with us, right? Just two of us, and then I think we realized that we need
We need a technical founder.
yeah, when we get rejected.
Because I think this is the interesting thing, right? So Daeng and I were two MBAs who came together, and we
No
thought
thank.
people are going to throw money at us,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
We worked hard we graduated, and we'd done a research project where we
Yeah,
did this
summer,
nationwide survey, and that kind of qualified a lot of our ideas that there is demand for this product, but people aren't using Islamic banks, and here's the reasons why: poor UX, poor customer service, high fees, low trust. And then we made a pitch deck, and we sent it around to I think 103
Is it
different
103?
entities. Yeah. And
Got
we
a few meetings though. Got a few meetings.
we got 3.
Yeah, is it? Yeah, a few
Right.
meetings.
And I don't know if we want to talk about this, right?
But I think that's part of the journey.
No.
It's part of
But do you remember what the meeting which changed everything?
the London one?
Yeah, the one in London. So we only got 3 responses. 2 of them were complete no's. One guy invited us for a meeting. And he called us into his office. I don't know if you know this story.
I'm not sure.
It was just me and Daeng, and we went there. And we went to present our idea. And the VC in question had brought in another bank that it seemed like he had already invested in. And this guy who ran that bank just sort of popped out and just started tearing us apart, right? But not even like in a constructive or mildly constructive way or in like a normal way, manner of speaking to someone, but like just being really, really rude, like, and insulting us and insulting like everything. Very
critical.
personal. Very personal.
Very personal.
Actually, but it was the way he was going, and things like, you know, I've been doing this for longer than you've been alive. What are you going to be teaching me about this? What is this? Which was a bizarre premise because we just kind of walked in there expecting to just do a normal pitch to a VC. And I don't know if you remember, I was furious.
Yeah, I mean, but the things that changed me is not that meeting. I think it was with Cambridge Ventures or something.
Cambridge Ventures, yeah.
So I mean, it's a constructive criticism. He said that if you want to build this, never outsource your tech.
Yeah.
So that's when I ran and tried to find someone to be a technical co-founder.
So that's so interesting because the Cambridge Ventures. So if you're in University of Cambridge, the ecosystem, you can apply for funding from there. They have the Cambridge Venture Arm. So that's where you realize we need tech.
Yeah.
And that's where you reached out to your connection, Irfan, which you guys kind of went to the same school.
Yep.
Yeah,
you know,
as a family friend.
There's quite a bit of age gap between the two of you, but you know, there's.
I'm younger than Irfan though. Yeah. That's a qualifying
Which
statement.
is that Irfan's one of the oldest people. Aside from my father, Irfan's probably like the oldest person in the company. I mean, my wife thought he was the dad of some of our engineers. Actually, we met.
He could be though.
But after the meeting at that VC where the banker just shouted at us for a bit, that's when I realized we needed someone with like real financial services experience and like old hair, like gray hairs.
Yeah.
And that's where we brought in my dad. Because when he sat in the meetings, that kind of stuff didn't happen. People started to take us seriously, for better or for worse. And I think a lot of female founders we've spoken to have said the same thing, where they'll bring in an older person just to sort of front the situation whilst they're doing everything in the background. So it's an interesting thing that happens in our industry, in our cultures. I think especially in the British Pakistani community, but that's a story for a different time. So listen, let's wind it back. Kestrl, we had the idea. We started to come up with a team because you and I recognize 2 MBAs, it's very hard for 2 MBAs to do anything, to be honest, right? We need people who can actually execute.
And you cannot outsource. So you
Cannot.
Yeah, so we realized the only value we would have would be if we built everything in-house, right? And we owned that process. So we made that decision. And then I think it was about selling the vision. That was the first time we actually managed to sell what we were trying to do. And you talked a little bit about how you were inspired by Islamic finance in general, but what about Kestrl? What was it about Kestrl and what we were doing that made you want to work with us? Because you were working for the biggest e-commerce firm in Malaysia, basically, Hermo.
Yeah, I mean, like, wherever I work previously, the only thing that drives me was the vision that I have deep inside. So that's, I mean, what Kestrl brings is what I want to do as well. I mean, like, and then I'm like the right person, I think.
You felt you were the right person at the right time,
So,
and you just kind of fell in love with the vision. But is it fair to say that you? Is it fair to say that the entrepreneurial you were already an entrepreneur?
yeah,
You were in the food business.
Yeah, I did. I sell burger last time.
You said, well, you started
More
Mr.
than that.
More than that.
Yeah,
More than that.
Right, so tell us about it, Mr. Junior.
No,
Mr.
I mean,
Junior.
Mr. Yeah, it was an idea that I had with my brother to basically like venture into unknown territory because I haven't done business before. I don't know about business.
Okay.
So yeah, I mean like it's something that I tried to do myself.
But why? Because you didn't have any entrepreneurial
no.
ambition.
But I
nothing
have
like
that drive. I mean, like I want to do. I want to build that business to become a successful one.
Why?
But based on
It's just an innate drive, innate motivation. Right?
something
Was
like
it
that.
money? Was it
No, it wasn't about money. That time it was about
Satisfaction.
satisfaction, building something that is my own, something like that, with my
Something,
brother.
yeah.
I love my brother so much, and then we work together. He good at that thing, I good at my thing, but
What was his thing?
he's a culinary.
Okay.
so
So he
yeah.
was the chef,
He was a chef,
and you were the tech guy.
I'm,
Not tag, there's
not
no
the
tag there.
I'm the business guy.
Supposedly.
Business with tech expertise, but
Some design
yeah,
thing.
but the problem, I build everything.
Sorry,
from,
you were
from
the business
ground.
guy.
Yeah, I
Yeah,
was
that's why the
business
business
guy.
failed.
That's why the business failed. You don't.
I done the I done the
postmortem.
Yeah, the postmortem. That's why the business failed.
I also did the postmortem
Because
as well.
Mr. Junior ran for like 6 years, right?
4 years.
4 years.
4 years. Yeah,
4 years.
Four outlets.
4 years. At our peak, we have 4 outlets.
Yeah.
So tell me
Shah
about
Alam.
the highs and lows, right?
The highs and lows.
Yeah.
The highs.
Because what was the model? It was like you were creating different
No, you
value
don't ask me
kitchens.
about model or
So,
technical things about
yeah,
business.
so let me-
It was like very driven.
Okay.
We were like very what do you call that?
Yeah,
We
just go for it.
Yeah, what
go
wakes
for
me up every morning with my
Yeah.
brother and my partner. So
Yeah, I get
we
it.
have three people there, 3 person. Me, my brother, and my
So a bit of context, Ari. At that time, I think still Malaysia is famous for street burgers.
Yeah.
I mean,
Street burgers.
Oh, we were actually the first one
Yeah.
doing
Gourmet
burger.
street burgers.
They call it burger bakar.
Yeah.
I was like debating with my brother that time to call it burger bakar. He wanted it to
So
name it
this
burger
is the
bakar.
pioneer.
Yeah, something like that.
Of
A year later, then only the first one came. Like what
So
was
you
the name?
guys were the first to kind of
but usually the first fail.
commercialize it, right? Because people were having these street burgers in general from stalls, but you,
I-
Street burgers, Ramly burgers.
I mean, I treat
some
the business
innovation.
like the way I do my programming. It was like keeping me up and everything, and I learn everything myself. So that's the problem. That's the problem.
but what was it? Because when you say you were the business side of it, you were doing the strategy, the
I was doing
distribution,
strategy,
the marketing.
the marketing, the design.
Also not doing many things
Yeah.
like modeling, proper
A lot.
costing.
a lot of the proper business stuff.
So what? Okay. What was the what was the high? What was the peak of it?
What was the peak?
4 stalls.
4 stalls. Yeah.
Four
We had,
stall
opened
and
up 4
we
stores.
had
four
a
stall and a factory.
correct. Yeah.
Because they produce their own meat.
Patties.
Wow.
We do our own buns.
But that is also the downfall. The factory is a downfall.
They didn't outsource it. So
We didn't take into the cost of running the factory. So I thought like everything should be the same or
Same
I mean, like,
pocket.
yeah.
okay.
But
Right
I learned a
pocket,
lot.
right pocket.
I mean, at Kestrl, after that, actually I joined my father running his own business. It's almost the same.
okay.
My father is an engineer himself,
Yeah.
and he tried to do business as well. But then I learned quite a few things about that kind of business, how an engineer runs a business. It's not gonna work if you don't have partners like you.
So let's talk about that, right? Because CEO, Chief Operating Officer,
Whatever that means.
CTO, right? So I think, in the early days, especially when you've just started a company, those roles are
Yeah, it's-
super cloudy,
yeah.
right? We're kind of like mixing between each other and all that. But it's so interesting because we said that statistic, 90 to 95% of startups fail in their first year. The main
It's
reason
true,
for
isn't it?
that is the team falling apart. Do you think having clearly defined roles is something that's really important in those early days?
No,
No, I don't.
Why?
know.
I don't think so.
During my business time, also everyone clear what their role. Still fail. You see?
I don't think that's a defining factor because, of course, cloudy rules. I mean, you have to pick up the slacks wherever the slack is, wherever the slack is, especially in the early days, right? What is the key success factor? I don't know. That's a PhD to answer, a paper to answer, but I think the team has to have a clearly defined target and understanding and stamina. And I mean, remember when we start, we set ourselves 6 months. We say,
Yeah.
six months, it doesn't work, we go back to our life.
So let's talk about this, right?
We go back to our life.
So we had just graduated.
Yeah.
It was September of 2019.
Yeah.
I had accepted a job to work at PwC, so I
Yeah.
went off to PwC,
Yeah.
and I was creating this pitch deck. And sorry, can I just check? Is his microphone still working? It's all good. Okay, fine. So I was at PwC. I was creating this pitch deck in my evenings and weekends and sending it off and distributing it. So I was living quite a cushy life.
Yeah.
Cut to Daeng, who. Well, do you want to explain what was going on?
I mean, I got no jobs.
So Daeng could have gone back to his job in Malaysia, but chose to stick around in the UK.
Yeah, stick around.
try
and then,
this.
Yeah, to try this. Give myself 6 months. Give ourselves 6 months,
We
basically.
said 6 months to try and make this
Yeah.
work.
I mean, work meaning our next milestone, right? Which is, I think, funding.
It
Is
was funding.
Is
Yeah,
it
we
funding?
realized without funding we couldn't build a team.
So, so I was doing some legal and not so legal jobs in the UK to survive, right? So because I have to split.
Wait, I should explain. When he says not so legal, we're not talking like you know.
No, it's not something like drugs or anything like that. It's just
You were doing takeaways runs for a
doing
Chinese
takeaways,
restaurant, right?
Yeah. For no, not a Chinese restaurant. It's actually a kebab shop.
A kebab shop,
And
sorry.
I think a Bangladeshi, I think like a biryani place or something like that.
What was the thing you eat every day at that place?
Yeah, I know all the curries now, Josh Rogan, all the everything. So I'm very used to it. So my life at that time is I woke up in the morning, become at 5, I think 6 is my shift started. 6 in the morning, I become a cleaner at John Lewis, Cambridge. So do some cleaning stuff over there for 3 hours, I think. And then I go to the office, which is at that time our office is Cambridge Church, I think. Yeah. So work on the project, do all the research, do all the pitch work, research products, things, market, whatever.
Yeah, because I was doing the
Yeah.
modeling and the
Yeah,
pitch,
yeah,
and
yeah.
you were doing the actual research of
Yeah,
products. And at the
products,
time, we
yeah.
thought, let's do a digital bank. So
Yeah,
we had to do all the
yeah,
modeling for
yeah.
that.
So do the modeling, find out the price of this. We don't know anything, right? So and then after that at 6 or 5 evening, something like that, I went to the shop to do some delivery of the food. Yeah, the food delivery. It's nothing fancy or anything like that.
No, I think it, and like
Yeah.
I gained immense respect for you during that period because, alhamdulillah, I was lucky enough to be working in a job that paid very nicely and was not so intense that I couldn't do stuff in my evenings and weekends. And Daeng was properly grafting, and it was not glamorous. So all of these guys who think, you're just immediately in the money as soon as you start doing it. This is a reality for most people.
Yeah, so that's one thing. Of course, you heard about people starting off a business part-time and flew, right?
Yeah.
But the reality, it needs time and attention from you. So if you don't put the time and work, I don't think. I mean, of course, it's all in the end risk from Allah. But the time and effort, especially for a startup, right? Because it's a new idea, you have to be prepared and so on. So a lot of people want to start a startup, but during their free time. So
But it was even more difficult for you because you were married.
I was married. Yeah.
Let's compare our lives at that point.
Yeah.
I was single, had no obligations, no mortgage, nothing like that. I was living at home with my parents, so it was just banking money. Daeng was married, had 2 kids under the age of 4, under the age of 5.
I think
right?
under the
And
age
then
of
doing
4.
deliveries.
Yeah, it's fine. I mean,
gotta survive.
massive thanks to my wife.
Yeah, the most understanding woman.
She understand it.
To be honest, shout out to all of our wives because we've
All
put
of
them
our wives,
through.
yeah.
We've put them through hell. To be honest.
So
Today.
Not today.
Thank you, wife.
Not hopefully not today. So yeah, she understand it. She is a son of a businessman, so
Right.
she understand.
The sacrifice.
Yeah, the sacrifice, the cycles, and so on. So she said to me, "Yeah, do it. Still send money backs. I mean, you still have to
Provide.
provide and so on.
Because you
Yeah,
sent your wife and your kids back to Malaysia.
yeah,
Yeah, during that period.
and grafting here.
And
Yeah.
what when you were in that, were there ever points where you were just like, "What the hell am I doing? Why don't I just go back to my
So,
job and
okay.
my life in Malaysia?"
So you always have to think about what's the worst outcome. And I came in with, I mean, I'm a risk taker, but I'm not like Irfan, like all in, right? I think about what's the worst outcome. Well, the worst outcome is just go back to the job market, right?
Yeah. So it was
so
like,
yeah.
okay, 6 months. I
6
tried
months,
it.
You lose your 6 months, but it's not for nothing.
And I think that's it, right? I think a lot of people forget that many entrepreneurs come from a place of immense privilege, which if we zoom out of the situation, we had just graduated from one of the top business schools on the planet, from one of the most prestigious universities in the world, right? And we could kind of afford to do that in a way.
Yeah, it's a sabbatical.
Yeah.
Weird.
Yeah. No, it was basically a sabbatical.
Yeah.
Right? And the only difference was that I was working somewhere and doing it on the side, but you were just taking a bit of time off.
Yeah.
But a lot of people can't afford to do that. But I always say to people, if you do have an idea and you're trying to make it work, don't quit your day job. Try and do everything you can alongside your existing primary source of income until such a point where it looks like you get some kind of signal that this is going to work. And that could be you get overwhelmed by customer demand, or it could be that you get investors who are actually going to put money behind it, so you can go full time on it. Well, whatever that signal is for you, everyone has their own risk tolerance.
Yeah, but basically that tests your discipline, because if you're just doing it during your free time while you have a day job, it's not gonna work. You have to you have to allocate time for it and so on.
Yeah, of course.
So yeah, that's
Of
gonna
course.
test your discipline.
Like I would finish in the office at about 7, and then some days I would stay there till 11:30,
yeah.
like midnight. Not working on a company laptop. Just pointing that out on my own laptop. Nothing done on that. So yeah, it's just very interesting the different ways in which we met and made this work.
I mean, like it's like against
Against the odds.
the journey that I went through, you know, because all the startups that I joined all failed.
No.
Every one of them. Every
at some
single
point.
one of them. Yeah.
Okay, then why did we bring Irfan?
Yeah.
Learn from the failure.
No, that's
Learn
the
from
question that I
failure.
had with my previous employer as well. I told them the same thing. Every company that I joined, they are almost like a startup
Yeah.
thing. And then they always fail.
Why? So what lessons did you learn from that?
They have different reasons why they are failing. One of them is because an engineer trying to run the company. The other is the other is because of the e-commerce,
The
the
market-
e-commerce space,
market,
the market space where
market-
they are like
market
they
change.
cannot like the market change, the way the market changes.
So macroeconomic factors
Something like
just
that, yeah.
shifted and changed. Sometimes in your control, sometimes
Yeah.
out of your control.
Yeah, but I persevere. I just
If you were to put a magnifying glass on us here at Kestrl, what works? What do you think works, or what makes us work?
I think the dynamics of us, the three of us, I mean, like the team that we have right now, it's like very colorful.
And we should say
I-
there are two members of the exec team not here at the
Yeah.
moment. There's our CFO, my dad, Areeb Siddiqui, and there's Masab, Dr. Masab Shaharam, our head of data.
And also the synergy that we have. I mean, the understanding that it's an unspoken understanding that we have between all of us, like the roles that we have, the expertise that we have. Like, I mean, like I really respect the way that like Daeng's overview on the financial world, where I never seen this part of the world before. Like I come from the street, man, so I never see the investment banking part. I don't see those things, and that kinds of like opened my eyes to something. At first, to be honest, when I joined, I was like very skeptical because I mean, I'm not skeptical of the idea, but I'm skeptical of the way
We were doing it.
we were doing it. Yeah, but
You were right to be. We were doing it the
Yeah.
wrong way.
Yeah.
At that
Yeah.
time, for sure.
but I'm like, but I understand that those expertise are yours, and I'm doing mine.
Right.
And I'm doing my best at what I do. So
Okay, so we talked about there not being clearly defined roles before, but even at the earlier stage, it sounds like Irfan had learned. And we're just sort of saying, okay, I'm going to leave it to these guys. Let me focus on building the tech team and doing what I know best. Right, which, credit, that maybe that wasn't the right call. Maybe you should have been more strict with us. Because for those of you who don't know, Kestrl started off as a digital bank. We were trying to follow in the footsteps of many people who had done this before in the conventional space and many Islamic players who were coming up. Nia, who was founded by Ali. Shout out to Ali. Inshallah, we'll get him on the podcast soon, right? And then there was like Money Mint, and there was Rizq, and there was Mai Ahmed. But Daeng, do you remember when we realized that wasn't working?
When we run the financial models, and I mean, from the paper, from the modeling that we did, I think we sort of knew that, okay, this could work, but it's gonna take hundreds of millions.
It would take a
And
lot of money,
a lot of
marketing.
money, yeah,
So the
yeah.
customer acquisition cost was huge, and the number of customers
Yeah, the market size
was to a point where it's like, okay, you've got 4 to 5 million Muslims in the UK,
Yeah,
and half of them are children,
yep,
right? So you can discount them.
yep,
And then it's like, okay, we pretty much need like 90% of the market
yeah.
to be using this for us to accomplish what we want to accomplish. So that was one. But what was really telling for me was when we went out and spoke to people.
Yeah. I
And when
remember that.
we asked them, look, what is it that you're really struggling with? And it was almost never payments and spending.
Yes,
and
never debit
we
card.
had an assumption that, people want to move away from the debit card because it's all tied into a system which is linked with interest. But no one cared. They were very happy to keep using Barclays and HSBC and Lloyds and Monzo.
Yep.
Maybe less so now because of the ties with Israel. But what they were really cared about was growing their wealth in a halal way, in the form of halal savings or investments. And of course, that came with certain goal achievements like mortgages. That's all people kept telling us about time and time
the
again.
product.
So, alhamdulillah, we quite quickly pivoted away from the debit card. Otherwise, we would 100% not be alive today.
I think the key lesson there, even now, I think we are humble enough to know that we don't know everything.
Yeah.
Even in in the way we treat our staff and so on. I make it a point that I'm not the smartest guy here. So I think that's a very good lesson for any startup. So once you find out new facts, new whatever information, whatever, or sometimes someone point out to you that probably you are the problem, then probably
Yeah.
just take it and
Yeah.
face the mirror.
I think it's a really ego destroying
Yeah,
business.
yeah,
Is
yeah,
the
it
idea
is.
of podcast, because you're putting everything out there on the line,
Yeah.
and then you're literally going to people every single day and you're saying, "Judge me."
Yeah.
Right? Judge what I'm doing, roast me, right? So I absolutely get what you mean, and there are some days I take it better than others for sure, but I think it's about not falling in love with that solution, because we saw so many of our peers do that, where whatever happened, they were gonna just die on that hill of it's got to be a debit card, it's got to be a digital bank, and thank God we had each other to pull us out of that. Okay, so we talked about the team, we talked about coming together, we talked about some of the highs and lows.
I think we need to talk about the staff also, the early staff.
Yes.
I think they are very instrumental in keeping us alive.
So let's talk about that. We had raised a little bit of money.
Yeah,
right?
a little bit of money.
We realized, okay, VC wasn't working.
Yeah.
Right. People kept on coming to us and saying, "Oh, it's too niche. It's Muslim." Even though there's 2.5, there's 2 billion people on the planet who are Muslim, it was too niche. Thank you for listening to Muslim Money Talk. If you like what you've heard so far, you might be interested in checking out what we do at Kestrl, the Muslim Money app. Kestrl is a service that helps Muslims who want to grow their wealth without having to compromise, whether it's on their belief or user experience or price. I founded Kestrl because of how fed up I was at how poor Islamic financial services were in this country. Often people didn't use them because of how bad the user experience or customer service, and indeed how high on price they were. So Kestrl was the answer to that. If you download the Kestrl app today, it can help you by creating a budgeting plan. Plug in whatever bank account you have and it will create a auto budget just for you. You can then tell us what goals you're saving for and we'll save towards them automatically into pots, and then crucially link you towards Sharia compliant investment and savings products as well. So download Kestrl today and try it out for yourself. Now back to the podcast. But then we started hanging around conferences, like Islamic finance conferences.
Yeah.
So my dad and I flew out to Istanbul, and we went to IFN, the Islamic Finance Network conference in the UK, and we started to meet larger players in the space. So like Sultan Chowdhury, who was the former CEO of Arayan Bank, Islamic Bank of Britain, James Bagshaw, you know, who was instrumental in the rise of Gatehouse Bank, another big Islamic bank, and Stella Cox, managing director at DDCap. All these players who kind of got what we were talking about, and I think when I talked to them, they seemed to like the combination of young, spirited, kind of naive kids with an older, grey-haired guy over our shoulder who'd done it before, been there, done that, worked in big banks, but also worked for the regulator. That seemed to be why we got angel investment, right? These people with, you know, not as much money as VCs, but certainly enough money for us to get started. And that was enough for us to kind of go full-time and say, let's do this. But then it was like, okay, Irfan, here's a little bit of money. Let's find a team. So how did you assess those people? Because it wasn't like they weren't joining us for the money.
Yeah.
You know?
I think Irfan knew these people.
Yeah.
So,
I mean, yeah, they
Irfan, you want to be it?
oh, sorry.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the thing that I see in the early guys, like the drive that they have since the early stage. I mean, the passion that they have in what they do.
Let's call them out. Ego is
Ego,
employee
yeah.
number one, right?
Ego.
He's
Ego
like
is number
our
one.
head of design now to this day. But what was it about Ego that made you think, I've worked with this guy before, I want to bring him on? Or was it anything? Was he just kind of like, I need a designer?
No, I mean like I'm a risk taker, right? So and Iga has worked with me previously in our current my previous employment, doing the same thing that he's doing right now, and the quality that I have that he have when doing his work, that's and then I'm not sure because when it was with you, right? I mean, like
in Mamak, I think, like 12 a.m.
invited him to join us.
So we sell the vision. I sell the vision to Iga. Somehow he sold on it. I don't know why.
We gotta get him on the podcast, I guess, and ask him. I think it was interesting in those early days because it felt very much like, and I know this is silly to say, but there are so many Muslims in the world right now that we kind of forget that when Islam first started, when the message first came down to Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, it was just a band of very few people.
I'm not comparing us to.
No,
Prophet
I'm not.
Muhammad.
But I'm just saying, like, it was a tiny little thing, right? Of people who were not very mighty and not very strong, and they were kind of like from lesser households of the Arabs and former slaves and children who kind of were coming together under this. And I know it seems like grandiose, and I'm probably going to get cancelled for saying this. Maybe we should cut this out. But it kind of felt like we were following in the footsteps of the first Muslims, trying to do something for the sake of something greater, right? Because I think that's why this has been a relatively easy sell for employees, because it's not just, hey, join us and we could be rich and famous and make loads of money and all that. It's, okay, let's try.
We tried to save as much at that time, right?
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
Peanuts,
we weren't getting paid anything, and we'll come to that. We'll come to that later, right? But it was very much
the
employees.
They are not joining because of
that. No, it was like we were sort of united by a shared belief that riba is highly destructive, and we want to try and help the world get rid of it. No, or maybe not.
So, my point of view after hiring so many
20 or so people now.
with
Yeah.
Irfan, right? So this is also a thing that I think a lot of founders have to understand. People have different motivations, right? It's about understanding that motivations and see whether that motivation fits our journey or not, right? And whether we can fulfill that motivations. So what, from an outsider point of view, I'm not a technical founder. I'm not a technical guy. But from an outsider point of view, I see these engineers, software engineers especially, and also designers. They are like artists, which are married to their job. Meaning not married to the job, meaning married to their what they produce, right? What they produce, what they make, and so on. So it's allowing it's by design or not by design. We design the company so that the engineers can fulfill what they wanna fulfill, right? Feel that this is a work of their product, and
Give them the space.
Yeah, we give them the space to
own it.
own it,
To put their own personal stamp on
yeah,
what they were creating.
Yeah, and yeah, it's not just about what we want. It's also about convincing them this is the right thing, right, to do. It's not necessarily for the mission, for example, right? And I always have this conversation with our staff. What do you want to achieve, right, in 5-10 years, right? And see whether Kestrl as a company can help them achieve that. Because I think we have to understand and understand that this is transaction, right? I mean, employee staff, this is transaction, but whether these transactions are beneficial to both party, and we cannot expect people to just. Some people want to replace Irfan, for example, right? Become CTO at Kestrl, but not everyone want to do that, right? And it's about helping them to, because everyone for themselves, right? I mean, just be real here, right?
I think that's the thing, right? Like, you can't expect non-founders to work like founders. Everyone has their own motivations, and I think that was something I struggled with at the start, and even to this day, where it's like sometimes I feel like, okay, this is what I'm telling you to do, just do it.
Cannot.
Whereas what I've really realized, and complete credit to the team for pushing back on things like this, they really, really force you to think about the motivation of why we're doing this. And is it a customer angle, or are we doing this B2B, or is this for marketing purposes, or something else entirely? But what's the real justification behind it? And that's why, like, the Amazon process is beautiful. The whole idea of, is this a two-way door decision? Like making a decision that I can then step back through without incurring a massive amount of cost or resources? Or is it a one-way door decision where if we make this choice and we get this rate license, or, you know, we hire this person, it's really hard to come back through that door without it being massive cost to us. So, you know, that's, I think we're still learning lessons in this
Of course.
as we go along. Right?
Truly,
We're definitely not the experts.
Truly, I mean, like, I cannot articulate why they're joining and what we did right or wrong that made them stay and everything. But it's I think, like, this is like a risk as well. I mean, like, even in my career journey, whenever I do hiring or anything, I just like do the proper assessment and everything. But then at the end of the day, we don't know.
that.
We don't know. We don't
know.
They might show interest at the first, but like.
And the hardest part is when you realize it's not working out.
But I think
we learned that too.
either it's working out or not, it's actually a learning for us and also for them as well. But I think with the current setup, with the current team that we have right now, I think, Alhamdulillah, it's a very good blessings that we have this kind of team.
For sure, man. For sure.
We try our best, like, to assess and everything, but
But we hire a lot of non-traditional candidates, I would say.
I think what we've been good at Kestrl is that we find quite good people straight out of university. And that's partly because we know what we're looking for, but partly because we can't afford anyone else. So it's kind of a blend between the two.
But one thing that I mean, like, I love what Daeng's vision on the growing the talents that we have in Johor. It's a very deserted area of talents. Talents don't go to Johor.
So I should explain.
Yeah.
Like most people know us as a UK company, but in reality, most of the teams actually here in Malaysia. And when people think Malaysia, they think it's Kuala Lumpur, but actually we're in a state called Johor, in a city called Johor Bahru,
and a place called Medini.
In a place called
Iskandar
Medini.
Iskandar Putri.
In Iskandar Putri. So it's interesting because it's in the south of Malaysia, in a place which people don't usually associate with tech talent at all. It's right on the border with Singapore. Singapore is like a 30-minute drive away. But everyone's always shocked when they find out the location. Even here in Malaysia, it's like, oh, why Johor? Why are you doing that? And Daeng's kind of vision is to make Johor a sort of tech hub.
Wow.
Silicon Valley.
State government should pay me then. Actually, the story is this came about during COVID, right? I came back to Malaysia 2020 when
So basically, we raised some money.
Yeah.
We decided, let's go full time. I quit my job at PwC, and you went back to Malaysia to meet Irfan.
COVID.
And COVID, that's a big part of it.
That's a big part.
Yep.
So
Because originally we were going to move everyone to the UK, if you remember the original financial model.
Yep,
we were
that's
like
true.
looking at office spaces. We're going to find all the talent in Johor.
By the way, that's
Move them
the promise to my wife. If this work, we're gonna live in the UK. I mean, things happen.
Inshallah.
Yeah,
you
yeah,
now
of
have 2 more kids, so it's a little bit more expensive.
It falls in place very beautifully. I mean, the journey.
It
COVID
was-
came, and my Hermo shutting down. I have my team, and a very spirited team. You know.
So,
But-
so the story about Johor again, right? So
Yeah.
it's COVID. We cannot go anywhere. Actually, I have my family back in Johor. Irfan was in Johor with Hermo. So we started off there. Then it's COVID, of course. We cannot open an office in KL. At that time, it was only like three people, right?
Akif and Iga.
Akif and Iga.
And it
So
wasn't really
me-
an office, it was a
It's-
house,
yeah, it's a
which your father-in-law
Airbnb.
had given us very
No,
kindly.
at that time it's Airbnb.
Oh, Airbnb.
jumping
we,
around,
okay.
we were jumping around Airbnb, rented Airbnb 1 month at a time, looking at the cheapest option. And I remember they just bring the tables, move around and so on. So
The device, the monitors and stuff.
so that was that time. So when we started off in Johor, there's no reason for us to move out, right? Out of Johor. So just grew there, and then I think that's a vision to make Johor a better place to work for tech talents. But of course, the initial Johor story is an accident by COVID.
No, but it was a happy accident. And
That's why
let me go back to that again. We've already talked about how if we went down the debit card path, we would be dead.
Oh, man.
Yeah.
Similarly, if we had decided to move people out from Malaysia to the
Yeah,
UK,
we'd be dead.
Oh,
we'd
yeah.
also be dead.
Yeah.
Right?
Super.
So it almost felt like
Yes.
a lot of luck / divine intervention
Oh, yeah, of course.
that kept us going in
Confirm.
those
Yeah,
early
your
days.
success is not your success, man.
Yep.
It's other people's success. A lot of luck.
Yeah, for sure.
Don't be
sure.
cocky about it.
Rahmatan lil alamin.
It's hard work, it's your privilege,
Yeah.
but also a lot of it is the undefined.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Your mom's dua. That's
Your mother's dua, yeah. For sure.
number 1.
Our mother's dua.
Yeah.
Alhamdulillah. So let's talk about this again, right? So those early days were hard, and they were hard for a number of reasons. But I don't know if you guys remember some of the darkest days
Yeah, we're
In Kestrl.
almost. Yeah, we are like 2 months away.
from death.
Yeah, from death.
So like I think for me that was an interesting period. So we'd been going for like 1.5 years.
Yeah.
I had gotten married
Yeah.
in September, so big change. And I wasn't a very good husband. Like I'll be the first to hold my hands up and say that on my honeymoon I was working and like creating a pitch for the Santander pitch competition, which we got to the finals for. So it was kind of worth it, right? But anyway, so she doesn't forgive me for that. But it was a scary time because suddenly, for the first time in my life, I had a responsibility,
Yeah.
which was beyond just myself. And I was paying rent, and I had someone else that I had to look after, and my wife had quit her job and moved down to London with me, and she was my dependent. And we were looking at the cash flow, and we'd launched our app, which was a budgeting app / stock screener, but it was just a consumer app, and we were really struggling with getting it out there and to turn it profitable. And I remember sitting down and looking at the money which we'd raised and thinking, we have 2 months left of runway before we die. And we made a really difficult decision amongst the founders that we weren't going to take any salary. That was a hard time. Because by us not taking salary, we extended our runway like another 2-3 months. But that was it. And that was probably the most stressful time in our period, where I thought all of this had been a waste. Right? What was the point of us doing this just for stupid LinkedIn posts? Right? But hey, look at us, we're startup founders, and look at our logo. And,
that's the reality of the journey, man.
But what was going through your guys' heads at the time?
I was just grinding it because you remember the deal that gonna save us is something that's gonna happen over here in Malaysia.
So there was something we had an idea of, but we didn't know if it was going to come to fruition, which was Bank Islam, Malaysia's largest and oldest Islamic bank. And of course, Muazzin was our first podcast guest. If you go back to episode 1, you can check that out. But they had sort of tapped us on the shoulder to say they liked what we were doing in the UK. Could we white label all of those features and give it to them so that their new digital bank, BU, could have features from day one? But when you're talking B2B,
sales cycle is
severe, longer. Very long, typically 18 months. So we were just sort of like, okay, let's not take a salary and just see, like, just hope and pray that this is going to happen. And I remember it had hit June, and we were really, really hoping they were going to sign. And then I remember being on my way back from Jummah, and I got a call from Zahrain, who runs CDX, and he just went, I'm really sorry, man. We didn't manage to get it signed because it didn't come up in the board meeting or something like that. And I was like, oh God. And then I thought, can we please ask, I know this is really cheeky, but can we ask for an advance?
Not going to happen, man.
But it did happen. It did actually happen. After the signing, we did get an advance. Like, it was a bit painful. But alhamdulillah, that's what saved us in that darkest day. And this was at a point where other Islamic fintechs were dying, left, right, and center. The digital banks were dying or had all gone at that point.
So credit to that. I mean, alhamdulillah, it's all the story nicely put together, right? I remember the early advice we get from Cambridge Venture: never outsource your tech. So we had something to sell. So that's the only difference.
That was the really only the only value driver we had at Kestrl.
So we were building something, the tag. We were building something. We had something to sell. That's all. And in the darkest day, we had some asset, which is basically intellectual assets that we can rent out or sell or whatever, right? So sometimes listen to other people.
Yeah, for sure. And we're still very much in touch with Cambridge Ventures to this day. Okay, so those were the hardest days. What about the best days? Because there are good times in this business, otherwise we wouldn't still be doing it. What's your favorite parts about running a startup and being an entrepreneur?
I think it's not I think the signing is one thing. I mean, surviving that is one thing. But it's not this. It's seeing the growth of the employee.
Correct.
That's a very soft answer, isn't it?
No, seriously.
Truly, what wakes us up every day.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's what drives me because I don't know you play Football Manager or not, right? But I'm even at an early age, right? People playing like Warcraft or whatever, right?
I'm a big fan of Battle for Middle Earth too. Which I still play to this day.
From like primary school, like I think there's CM, there's Championship Manager, there's Football Manager. I like that very much, and the things that satisfy me the most is when I took someone young, like young footballer, 18, 17, whatever, and see them grow to a football superstar
So
in
that's-
that game. That's all. But that's what drive me. I
That's
think.
what motivates. And same with you, Irfan, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, like looking at them go, it's like very
Growth.
satisfying.
So,
Yeah,
so let's use
growth.
an example, right? Let's shout someone out. Who do you think?
Everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean the survivors.
the ones who are left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Some of them started from zero, different background, construction, right?
Construction
Wong.
background.
Who was Wong in construction?
Wong in
Yeah.
construction.
From construction to PM.
So
I heard the other day Wong was a rapper.
you don't tell it in the podcast.
sorry.
Right?
Sorry,
He
Wong.
was.
No, Wong bukan nama sebenar.
But yeah, his previous job was in construction,
No way.
project management of construction.
Okay.
Yeah.
And he's a fantastic project manager of
Yep.
a tech team as well.
Yeah, so that's what I said early on, right? We don't hire to what you can offer now.
We are unconventional.
Yeah, we hire a lot of unconventional candidates because that's the only way you can survive in Johor is finding those rough diamonds. That's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, absolutely. And I think seeing people who joined us straight out of university or as interns, like I always use Akeef as this example. Akeef was an intern.
Yeah, yeah.
Like, he's working with us part-time whilst studying and doing his thesis.
Yeah.
Remember back in the day? Because
Yeah.
this was after the Airbnb when you guys moved into the haunted house.
During
situation.
What was the story again?
intern. Part time.
Part-time.
Yeah,
He was part time studying, part time
part-time studying
Part-time working.
during the it's not
And,
haunted
and
house.
now,
no.
It's not yet.
well, I heard you guys encountered
Yeah.
gin and stuff in that
A
house.
story for another day.
Oh, we can talk about it. We can talk about it. But Akeef started off like that, and now he's a head of department. He
Yeah.
runs our front end engineering team.
Yeah.
He's probably one
Amazing.
of the most efficient people within the whole firm.
Yeah, not
I
only
fully
that.
believe he's going to go off and do his own thing one day.
Yeah.
You know?
I
He
already told,
motivates me.
Yeah, I already told him whenever you need, when you want to do your own thing and you need some support, just let me know.
Yeah.
It's not only that, you can pick anyone. Anis,
Yeah.
he can deliver her own thing now. He doesn't need any guidance or
Anis is
whatever.
like the silent assassin.
Yeah.
Right. She just gets stuff done.
Areeb.
It's interesting because I've always kind of been a bit jealous of that. Because in the UK, in Malaysia, you've got a big team,
Yeah.
right? And it's kind of like your own family that you're fostering. And you always have the luxury that you have to deal with the operation side of it and managing different people's expectations.
Yeah.
In the UK, it can be like quite a
Very
a lonely experience because it's just kind of me. There's my dad, Musab, but he lives in Oxford. We of course had Hala when she was here, but it's not really the same kind of vibe. And I'm really proud of seeing what's going on in Malaysia because it makes us feel like we're a real company
Yeah,
You
I
know.
think we are now.
with what's going on. But sometimes you got to wake up and remind yourself of the real story behind all the silly LinkedIn posts and all of that stuff. So, okay, so we've gone from a lot of people listening to this will have had all of these questions from like, okay, what's it really like to be a startup founder? So if I were to ask you guys, would you do it all again?
Me.
Would you, and would you change anything?
I would with a better financial position. Yeah, I wouldn't go or put my family through it anymore. So if I have a better, more secure financial position, I probably would do it again.
Could you have done it now with 4 kids?
Probably. It's, I mean, the extra cost is incremental. You will know after you get your second one.
The bigger they are, the easier. I don't know.
Yeah, something like that. So yeah, I would. Yeah,
What does your
but what I wouldn't do is, I mean, I like building, so I think at one point the company doesn't need me anymore.
Yeah. Let's talk about that because I worry about this. I think the day Kestrl doesn't need us,
Yeah,
That's the day we know we've done our jobs.
I mean, that's
Right.
You know, building that.
Mission accomplished.
that's when I think mission accomplished. The company is just running on its own. How far away do you think we are from that? I think a good couple of years at least.
Good, at least couple of years.
Yeah.
And a bit more money. Yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
For sure. So
We are getting there.
Getting there.
Getting there.
let's talk about family.
What do you want to talk about family?
When you guys started this and you went and told your family and your friends and your parents, I don't know how it is in Malaysian culture, but amongst Pakistanis, or especially British Pakistanis, to tell your parents you're throwing away
Yeah.
a nice
Years of
job from a
study,
company
yeah.
they've heard of to go and do something on your
Unheard
own
of.
is almost like a death sentence, right? But what did your family members think about it?
I don't know about Irfan. Irfan that's a normal day for him.
Normal day for me.
Yeah. He's never been conventional throughout his life. So
But my wife is like the standard Malaysian, where she's more like
Malaysian.
common Malaysian woman. For Malaysia, maybe common lah. For me, it's special in my heart lah.
That's a comeback. That's a good comeback.
But yeah, I mean, like she worries about building the family, like surviving and everything. But I said to her, Inshallah, that's it. And then I just go my way, and she supports it.
She'd already supported you once already with Mr. Junior
every
Burgers.
Step, every step of my life.
Weren't you guys like sleeping above the factory at one point?
Yeah, we
and
were sleeping at the hostel with the boys.
Yeah.
You know what I mean, in different rooms.
Yeah.
But
Yeah,
That's
in the
tough.
factory.
in the factory,
Complete credit to her. She's
she's
for putting up with you in general.
the
is-
perfect partner.
for you. Yeah.
Yeah, she's very supportive. She's like the one that's keeping my mental sane.
Look at him being nice about his wife.
Huh?
He's
never
always
see
been
this-
nice about his
We
wife.
never see this side about him.
No.
Yeah, he's always been nice about
Yeah,
his
well,
wife.
not with me anyway.
Yeah, you have to.
But yeah, I mean, like
Bro code bro.
break up. Okay.
but yeah,
What about you? Your family? Because you were a scholar. So in Malaysia, there's a scholarship scheme, right? So obviously your family had very high expectations for you.
yeah.
But what-
I wonder also.
What did they think?
I think my parents knew that I was gonna do something like this. I mean, like entrepreneur. At one point,
Why?
because I've been like this since I was a kid. So here's the thing, right? I'm blessed with good intelligence, right? But I never liked study. So even at one point during my form 3, form 3 is for contact is probably
7 or 8?
no, form 3 is like 15 something like
okay.
that. So when you get into form 4, you have to choose your streams. You want to do science,
Fine.
or you want to do economics, things like that. So I remember I told my mom that I want to do economics, accounting, because I want to get into business one day. But my dad doesn't allow it.
Why?
Because in Malaysia it's better for you to take science stream, because it's opened up a lot of door. So you can get into economics with your science background, whatever, but you can't get into science with your economic background. So in the end, I took both.
You did science and business.
Yeah. Score straight A's during the SPM. But I think my mom knew this kid gonna do something at one point. So
But why? What were those early indications that you were?
troublemaker.
Daeng was the troublemaker.
In the family.
Okay. Because you're very big family.
Yeah, I
very
got
big
a
family.
good, very big family.
So you're number
7.
7 out of how many kids?
9.
9 kids.
9 kids. So
Okay.
So yeah, and then I did a bit of side business here and there when I was growing up.
Like what? What were you doing?
That's things. So yeah,
All legal. All legal.
Oh,
we should add 100% legal.
transaction.
legal transaction. So I think my mom knew.
Right.
It's
Okay.
more about my mom. I think my mom knew, and she accepted that the time has come.
So they were very accepting of it.
Yeah, I mean, I will not do it if my mom doesn't bless it. So for me, that's a big
Yeah.
part. Whatever I do, I mean, big decisions. I always seek for my mom blessings. For my father-in-law and mother-in-law, they get it. My father-in-law is a businessman.
Yeah.
He said, just do it.
He understood you had to take the risk.
Yeah. Yeah.
And what about your wife?
Yeah, he said, just do it.
Yeah.
This is what you want, then do it.
I think it is really important to have someone, Salim actually, who was another one of our guests. I can't remember which episode now. The managing director at Techstars, who were one of the first sort of institutional investors we had. He said something interesting to me where he said, "There's only your life is built on so many pillars. There's your family, your faith, your job, whatever is important to you. At any one time in your life, only one of those pillars can be shaky." Right? And that's what you're going to be focusing on. If more than one of those things is shaky, that's it. Something is going to come apart. And I think when you're a startup founder, it's always the career part that's shaky, that you're just in a constant state of shakiness. So if you don't have that foundation, I'm not saying it's impossible, but it makes your life a lot harder without that familial support or whoever it is in your life that's important to you, and you go to, in a state of crisis. You really, really need that. And I think that's what I appreciate when I've learned so much about Malaysian culture. Although we're going to be trying durian at the end of this episode, so I'll find out whether I still like it or not.
For
But
us doing this,
Yeah.
you have to eat durian.
you guys are all about family, right?
Yeah,
and not
because-
in like the Fast and Furious way about family, but a lot about Malaysian culture is really built around family bonds, and also to an extent like ties with the land, because you're all always talking about your home village, where you came from, where you grew up swimming, learning to swim in rivers and running around barefoot in the jungle and wrestling with snakes or whatever it is. Where in the West, we don't really have that connection anymore. And families are almost growing smaller because people are having fewer kids, and you're not really having like little nieces and nephews running around all the time. And I feel like we're losing something in the Western world there.
I mean, I think that's a saying that it takes a village to raise a kid or whatever.
Yeah.
I think that's true.
Yeah.
That is certainly true.
Yeah.
Your cultures are, I don't understand
it's not,
Western, man.
It's not individualism. I mean, even if you take like Islamic, right? I mean, fiqh, right? You are responsible to certain people in your family, especially men. Let's say your sister got divorced or whatever, right? So you are responsible. I mean, if your father is not there anymore.
I think
you
because
have
Malaysia
to
is
be-
like by default it's a Islamic country, and whereas the Western is like very mixed. Even the states, they don't know what gender you are, right? It's very twisted.
There's things which are very different
Yeah.
in both sides of things, for sure.
Maybe
And
because of the Islamic values that we have.
yeah, there are some inherent Islamic values which I think are very core in these sorts of countries, and it's the same in Pakistan and Indonesia and all of these places. And there can be good sides to it, and there can be very difficult sides to it as well, for sure. So look, we've been talking for a while now, and I guess if we were to end it on something, I just wanted to ask you guys, what's next? What is next for Kestrl? Because we've gone from consumer to B2B. What are you really excited about in the future? And what are you looking forward to maybe doing next even?
For Kestrl.
For Kestrl or outside of Kestrl?
Yeah, for Kestrl, I think it's quite exciting to help the banks actually.
Yep.
To help them listen to their problems and actually become a solution to them. And I want to keep doing that, right? And especially Islamic banks. That's who we want to serve.
Yeah, we want to one day power every
yeah,
Islamic
yeah.
bank in the world. And
Yeah.
that really aligns with our original mission
Yeah.
of still helping Muslims to grow their wealth. It's
Yeah.
just, instead of replacing those banks, why not work with
Join
them
Yeah,
and power
work
them?
with them.
But of course, I'm also excited with what we are going to do in the UK, in our home market.
Yeah.
And collaborations and inshallah upcoming collaborations and so on. I think that's the way forward.
Inshallah, by the time this podcast launches, hopefully that will all be public.
Oh, all right, okay.
But yeah, hopefully. So maybe we shouldn't say just in
Yeah.
case it's not.
On top of
but-
that, like I mean, a part of like I'm used to like scaling things technically, right? Then I would like to like
Scale people.
Yeah, scale the people, the company, which is I mean it's a very interesting journey to be on. I mean, Kestrl.
And the testament of that is Irfan doesn't have to code anymore.
Yeah.
That's true.
I'm like.
Is that difficult for you?
What, letting go?
Yeah, not coding. I worry about you sometimes. You
No,
know?
I still I still
Slowly,
code,
yeah.
but just like doing.
Yeah.
Not really hustling, but contributing to the communities and stuff.
Yeah.
But at Kestrl, I mean, the way the team are growing, the way people are like taking responsibility without, I mean, naturally, like it's really waking me up every morning.
It's something
Apart
I've
from
really
people.
struggled with. I've
I
really
know.
struggled with letting
I told
go.
you many times you have to give them space and believe to grow.
I think it comes from being relatively isolated in the UK around a task and thinking, okay, I really don't have time to be doing this, but I literally don't know who else can be doing this. And inshallah, especially with people who will be joining us very soon, I'm really looking forward to actually giving more of those day-to-day things away and being less of a product manager and product owner and doing more of the big picture stuff.
So whenever you feel like, I think, I mean, I say to myself, whenever you feel like I can do this in 2 hours, why are you taking so much time doing this, right? I mean, we had that thought and so on, right?
I have that a lot.
Yeah. So you have to remember you had that moment too when you were young. Someone else giving you a chance, not just taking the paper from you, right?
I remember my first job at Deloitte. I always remember this.
Yeah.
But the first project that I was given, I didn't really know what I was doing, and they asked you to make a slide deck and write up a report on this. And I remember doing it and knowing it wasn't good and handing it in and asking for feedback. And the guy who was just only a couple of years older than myself looked at it and just kind of went, thanks. And I knew he knew it was terrible, but he was too embarrassed to say it. But I just knew that guy's never going to ask me to do anything again. And he didn't. And the same thing happened to me a year later when I gave it to someone. You know, gave someone. It's just kind of like a rite of passage that you have to go through.
So they need time. I mean, of course, we have to have some timeline and so on, right? But they need the space and time to grow. Sometimes I know in the startup it's very hard, especially you are running with time, limited money.
And you feel like
so
every
on.
second wasted is another second closer to death.
Yeah. But if you want to build a company, that's what you have to do. Not just the product. I mean, the people make the product. Actually, the people, especially tech company, you have to remember the only asset you have is just the people.
Yeah. That's very true. That's very true.
Yes.
So we're looking forward to the next 4 years together?
Inshallah.
Inshallah.
Not sure. All right, fantastic. All right, guys, thank you very much.
All right.
Daeng, Irfan, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
Salam.
Thank you for listening to the Muslim Money Talk podcast. If you like what you heard, then please subscribe to Muslim Money Talk wherever you might have been listening to this. Give us a like and share it with someone who you think might be interested. It really, really helps us out. Thank you. Assalamu alaikum, and see you next time.